Welcome to the Lil Big Bro Podcast. My name is Leo.
And I'm Big Bro Hector.
And we are back. As you can see, I have grown a beard. It's been that long. But yeah, we're back to watch episode 7 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is the was it part 1 of the winter solstice?
Yeah, the winter solstice part 1. It's a great episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's a lot that happens in this episode, and there's a lot of Iroh, which we all love.
Exactly, which isn't anything. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, let's get started on this rewatch of the episode. All right, ready?
Right. Yep.
All right, 1, 2, 3. So the episode starts as the Aang gang is flying in the clouds, and we kind of see a little bit of like how Aang, he's a little kid and he just wants to play around and do like his own thing. So you kind of just at the beginning of the episode, you just see Aang jump off the Appa and go right into the clouds, and then come up all wet. Hector, why is he wet?
Because clouds are made of water.
Right. And of course, like what all of us would love to do, be able to just like airbend and completely get dry. But as they prolong, as they're flying through from the height of where they are on Appa, they look down and just see like a big black, basically scar on the ground that like it's like lush forest, but then just a big like black area on the ground in which they like go to land.
This just shows like it'll go and show like how in tune Aang is with the Buddhists and the Mother Nature, and I mean how obviously this was a fire that happened, and it tore apart it looks like it was trees and land, and just made a big what they call is a big scar. It looks like a big scar from above, which that's what it is. And at this point he's really sad, and they're wondering why. And so he explains that he needs to be the avatar, and he wasn't there, but no one's there to train him to be the avatar. So it's like at that point, you don't have a teacher to look up to.
Exactly, and that's extremely hard. And then on the flip side, you go to Iroh and Zuko, where Iroh is in like a natural hot springs, just jacuzziing it up.
And he actually heated it up. He heated it up himself.
Of course. Not by fire bending either. By all natural.
No, just kidding. It was by fire bending. But you really don't know. So you really don't know how he exactly heated up.
Exactly. And Zuko's mad at him. He's like, "Wow, we don't have time to do this. We still have to go find the avatar. Gotta get ready, get out of there, get to it."
And this just shows like how Iroh is just like your typical uncle, just like relaxed, laid back. He's already been through life.
You should take your teacher's advice and relax a little. The temperature's just right. I heated it myself.
There's no rush on anything, and Zuko's just like your impatient teenager that wants to go and get things done.
Exactly. And here's a really like sweet part. We go back to like the Aang and Katara, and Katara basically shows Aang this little acorn, and acorns are basically just like seeds from trees, pretty much. They fall out of trees, but they're basically seeds. So like they'll fall into the ground and sprout like a new tree. And she gives like some faith to Aang that like, hey, like even though this happened to the forest, it burned down, it'll eventually be a forest again.
And if you ever seen like an area that burns down, it actually like when it grows back, it takes time, but when it grows back really nice and a lot more greener than it was.
Exactly.
And at this point, right after that moment, there's a stranger that walks by and comes up to them and then sees, like, asks if that's the Avatar, and they feel comfortable to say yes, and so he's asking for help and walks them back to the village, and so and they're needing help with something that only the Avatar can help with, and they're hesitant to tell him, but it ends up being is a spirit that's been like going through these people's villages, destroying it. And, the spirit's name is Heibai.
Yeah, and the reason why they're asking Aang for help, it's basically because like the Avatar is the bridge between the spirit world and like the regular world. For reasons, Aang still wants to figure out how to be the best version of that, but he's still a little kid, but he's still the Avatar, so people are gonna ask for him, like, for his help.
And then this is a perfect. It's like a good moment for Aang because he's confused because earlier he was like looking for a mentor or someone that can teach him how to be the Avatar for like these moments, but like right now he's sort of playing along, like, sure, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll figure it out. And his back of his mind, he's like, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'll try, because he always has that positive mentality that I'm gonna give it a shot. So, and then it's like, it's my job to help, so I'm gonna try to help these people.
Exactly. I mean, and Katara and Sokka are there to like be realistic with him. Like Sokka's like, yeah, we're all gonna be eaten by spirit monster. But yeah, it's really nice to have Aang just be so positive and help in any way. He doesn't know how he's gonna help, but he'll help.
And then now going back, now we go back to Iroh and Zuko, and Iroh's still relaxing. Who would want to rush a hot tub moment? And this tiny little mouse, this tiny little mouse comes to him and gives him a little surprise, just to shock him.
He's actually warning him to be like, "Hey, watch out!"
Because yeah, that's right. He's warning him because of the Earthbenders, they're coming. But there's more than anything because of the rumble of the ground, and so he's giving a warning. And it's just so. I love seeing Iroh because the Earthbenders have him all pinned up in his little hot springs and naked.
He's just stuck there with like the perfectly placed like earth at him, just like, oh,
right. He has that expression that all of us would have, being pinned up naked, very uncomfortable.
Exactly. Though we go back to the Aang gang. Basically, I don't know. They're worried about Aang. Just like, what is he gonna do with the spirit monster? And
right, so he takes off on his own, and Sokka and Katara wanted to help, but the elder from the village told him that no one can but him. And so he goes out and he tries to do his best, and he doesn't know how to talk to spirit, so he's just like, hey, he's like, hello, spirit.
I forbid you to stay out of this village. Thank you.
Ironically, it got the spirit's attention, but actually I feel it was just the spirit was going to come to town anyways, and it was just that type of that timing. But so the spirit is this like big white and black creature, but Aang's not really frightened. He's just like, hey,
can I help you? Yeah, what are you doing? I know this like big spirit looks like a big like killer whale orca, but with like 6 legs instead of like flippers, and it just starts destroying the village. And Aang, I don't know, he's just trying to help. He's literally trying to talk to it and help.
Yeah, and then so the people from the village are actually seeing him talk, and then they're like, well, maybe we should go help. And he's like, no. He's like, only the Avatar can. And so
Some odd methods.
Sokka, very impatient teenager.
Yeah, he basically goes to help Aang, and it's what it's called. It's like Avatar business. Like he has to figure it out, but Sokka goes to try and help, and eventually he gets captured. Not captured. Well, technically captured. Yeah.
Yeah, technically captured because like he throws his bow and arrow at the spirit, and
Boomerang.
it just basically swoops him up, and Aang just goes and follows them.
Mm-hmm.
And they go into the forest, and disappear.
Yeah.
So no one really knows that at that moment that they're sort of going into the spirit world.
No, not yet. On the flip side, Zuko finally comes up to the jacuzzi where Iroh was and finds that he's not even there anymore, and investigates the rock. So like, like he must have been captured. So he's gonna have to go help his uncle. Yeah, and it's sad. It's sad. Like Aang obviously doesn't want to. He just wants to help people, and he doesn't want to lose any of his friends. But like, this is the first time. Technically, right? Technically, the first time like one of his friends got captured.
Yeah, this is the first time like any of them got captured just because of getting involved with the Avatar.
Yeah.
And the spirit
got captured, but yeah,
because the spirit goes back to where the fire was in the area, and at that moment, that's when it actually goes back into the spirit world because Sokka and the spirit animal disappear, and Aang's just left there sitting, not knowing how to get into the spirit world and follow them.
Exactly. And on the flip side, going back to Iroh, he's being taken on these ostrich horses with the Earthbenders, and they tell him, or you hear a little backstory of Iroh, that he was like, he laid siege on the biggest city, the biggest Earth Kingdom city, Ba Sing Se. He did that for 600 days, which is crazy. But you learn a little more history of like Iroh, which is really cool. And saying that he's seen that, like, he's like, 600 days was tired. I just wanted to go home. Like, I am tired right now. And then he falls off the horse. But he's smart. He's not lazy, right? He's not dumb. He's maybe a little lazy. But he leaves a sandal to like leave a little path for his Zuko, because Zuko's trying to find him, obviously.
Right. And it's funny because so Iroh's people always think, or he gives the impression that he's like your silly silly dumb uncle, but he's really not. So he's very strategic of things that he does, and so he thinks outside. He always thinks outside the box when it comes to things.
Yeah. And then we go back to Aang, and it's a really cool reveal because it goes from like sunrise, so like darkness to sunrise, and it looks like Aang is just walking up to Katara and the older gentleman of the village, and then once the sun hits, you see he's blue. So he's like, then you find out, you're like, oh, he's in the spirit world, but like how did he get in the spirit world? Who knows?
Right. And then it flips back. At that moment, it flips back to Zuko, and at this moment, this is a crucial moment in Avatar history, where he finds Uncle Iroh's sandal. Now that sandal will come back in future episodes. So you'll realize how important that sandal is, as silly as it sounds.
Zuko will never forget the sandal. But yeah, like, it's so crazy. Like, Aang, he's just a kid with so much responsibility to try and figure out what to do. But this is
because right now, then when it flips back over to him, he's just confused because he's in the spirit world trying to communicate, but no one can see him. And then
Mhm.
when he looks at the distance, he sees like a dragon or something coming. So he tries to. This is where he
Like
finds out
bend.
that he's in the spirit world and that he can't use his bending because he tries to fly away, and
Mm-hmm.
then all his bending is gone. So
Yeah,
that's when I think that's when the realization hits that he's in the spirit world,
yeah. If you're in the spirit world, you can't airbend or do anything.
and then this dragon that's coming, it's actually a friend, and then I think he realizes once he gets closer that it's a
It's
um
Avatar Roku's animal guide.
actually no, he doesn't realize it, but the
Oh,
dragon
the
touches
dragon.
him and
Yeah,
lets him, almost like communicating by touch,
yeah,
by their minds, telling him
yeah,
that he's like, the previous Avatar Roku's dragon.
yeah. So yeah, it's his dragon, his animal guide, kind of like Appa is to Aang. So this dragon was to Avatar Roku, so previous Avatar before Aang. And it's funny because Aang's in the spirit world. They technically fly by where Iroh is with all the Earthbenders, and Iroh, it's supposedly shows that he sees him, that sees them.
That's right. Yeah, because Iroh's always been. You'll learn as the episodes go on, but Iroh's very in tune with the spirit world.
Yeah,
And this part's funny because he's like, it shows like he's old, but for an old uncle, he's buff. He's
yeah.
sitting like there, and he's trying to trick the his captives to that he's like, oh yeah, he's like he's like, I'm old and these cuffs they're too loose. Can you tighten them?
Mm-hmm.
And this just shows like how skilled of a bender he is because he uses his steam from his nose to heat up the buckles, and then the earthbenders grab it and
Mm-hmm.
burn themselves, and then he sort of does like a
Rolls them up.
flame out from his feet and escapes
Yeah,
down a hill. I mean, it's
yeah.
a painful way to escape, but he escaped.
He's resourceful. And then the dragon ends up taking Aang to this nation in the Fire Nation. This nation.
Oh yeah, so
This
yeah, the
island on the
dragon.
Fire Nation.
Yeah, the dragon goes
Um,
to the island
bas-
where Avatar Roku is.
yeah, like basically a shrine, and then
Yeah,
the dragon does another little like tilt, like head tap on his head, and shows him a comet, and then he does it one more time and shows that Aang is going to have to be at this temple, this little temple with the shrine of Roku on the solstice.
to be able to talk to him. That's the only time
Exactly.
that he can actually talk to him.
Yeah.
So, and even though he like needs to get out now, but the dragon's showing him that it's basically what he's standing on is a calendar, and
Mm-hmm.
when the light hits the statue, that's when we'll be able to talk to Roku.
Exactly. It's so interesting. They're showing you little snippets of like what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or what needs to happen. What's Aang needs to know. Aang
And
needs to know.
then after that, then we go back to Uncle Iroh. As like I said, the escape he did was a very painful one, as he
Mm-hmm.
keeps on rolling down the rock hill, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Earthbenders come and find him in the pile of rubble.
Yeah, and they're like, we need to deal with him, severely. Like, oh, he's too dangerous to be left alive. And it's
He's
funny, like
always
the
underestimated.
two stories intertwine. Like, Katara is looking for Aang and Appa, and flies over Zuko, and Zuko sees Appa and is like, oh, I need to go after the Avatar. But he realizes he needs to find his uncle. Uncle is more important. So it's like the first crack of like, his at least Uncle Iroh, he's more important than Aang at this moment.
Right, which is really surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Zuko's personality, because usually he puts his self first over anybody else.
Exactly.
And then
luckily, on the flip,
yes, on the flip side. Then Aang is flying back with the dragon, and then comes to the statue of where these bears were, and then flies back into the statue, and that's when actually he comes back to like to the
His
out of the spirit world, and then he goes back to the village and tells Katara that she's like the spirit animal has Sokka, and then he can't get him.
yeah. And then we're back to Iroh and Zuko, where they're about to crush Iroh's hands, but Zuko comes in and saves him at the very last moment. And this is my favorite like line from Iroh. The Earthbenders are telling him, "There's 5-2. Like you're outnumbered." Iroh's like, "We may be outnumbered, but you certainly are outmatched." And you're like, "Oh." And then the cool little sequence of Zuko and Iroh fighting the Earthbenders. Like you see two different styles, which is so cool. Like at one moment, Zuko fires a fireball, and then one of the Earthbenders just like puts his head down and just like blocks it with his like helmet.
Right. Yeah, you see how like their outfits actually are used to like defend and like how to fight other benders.
Yeah,
And you see how skilled like Zuko and Iroh are, that they basically just quickly go through them, and like they said, they were outmatched.
Oh yeah, easily outmatched. And then we go back to Aang, and Aang's dealing with Heibai. Heibai comes back into the village, starts destroying things, but Aang is able to use the like technique that the dragon used on him, touching his head to like figure out what's going on. And he notices like under the big scary exterior of the Heibai, that Heibai is just like a panda underneath, like a panda spirit that is mad about the forest being burned down. But how the story comes in full circle, where Katara gave Aang an acorn to reassure him that the forest is going to come back one day. Aang gives that acorn and shows it to Heibai, that like, hey, like, don't worry, it may have burned, but the forest will come back. And then Heibai,
he's like, here's an acorn, take the acorn.
Exactly. And Heibai just like, okay, I'm not a rageful monster anymore. I'm gonna go back to being a spirit panda, and then brings back everybody from the village. But there's one lesson: there's no bathroom in the spirit world, so Sokka really had to pee.
That's funny. Oh, and then it goes, then they go and the village thanks them, and this is a funny part because the village asks like, oh, how can we reward you guys? And so everyone's like, you're always taught to be like, oh no, thank you, no rewards needed. But Sokka's like, money and food, it would be nice.
Oh my God. It's so great. And then the happiness of it all, right? Aang tells him that he needs to go to this island on the solstice. And the bad thing about that is the winter solstice is the following day. And not only that,
it's in the Fire Nation.
It's in the Fire Nation. So Sokka and Katara are like, we have to do what? So that's how that's how the episode ends, where like they have to figure out like, oh, we have to do what now next?
And then it's to be continued to the next episode, which we will get into our next one. But for now, why don't we start with our what do we oh my gosh, my favorite one to start with is the cup of tea with Iroh.
Oh no, that's the end.
That's at the end. What's the first one that we do?
Avatar's arc. Any new and interesting animals in this episode?
I thought the panda creature was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say my little favorite one was the little mouse.
The little mouse, yeah. Those are
Ironically, cool. He wasn't like a hybrid or anything. Well, technically the panda wasn't hybrid either, but yeah, it became hybrid because of the spirit animal.
Yeah. I'm sure the mouse was some sort of hybrid. It's like some mouse rabbit thing, tiny thing. I don't know. I like the ostrich horse. I think it's the first time we see.
Oh, that's right. Horses. That's right. The ostrich horse. That would be technically your hybrid right there.
Yeah, those look really cool. But yeah, those are basically the only animals I think that were in this episode.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Um, what's the second? What's the next part? Was it favorite moment? Oh, what did we learn from this episode?
Knowledge. So, what I learned, I think what the episode was trying to teach is to be kind. I think just to be kind to your environment, because obviously because they destroyed this forest,
Mm-hmm.
the creature, the animal that was living in the forest got angry and started destroying your homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it basically is just teaching to take care of others' homes, not just if you want your homes to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You animals need a place to live as well, so you have to take care of like Mother Nature.
Yeah, I like that. And always take care of your uncles, basically your family too.
Oh yeah, that was
you see
a good point.
Zuko in a moment of like, oh, I see the Avatar, but I need to go. But no, I have to go find my uncle because at this moment it's important. So it's like prioritize. Like
I was very happy that he chose his uncle over keep on going after the Avatar, as much as he wants the Avatar.
Yeah.
And his dire need of searching for it for him.
Let's see. Oh, next one is our favorite bending and non-bending moment.
Okay, my favorite bending moment was when Aang flew into the clouds and then just did the little cloud or the whirlwind of air just to get himself dry. That's my favorite moment. And then non-bending moment would have to be Aang as well, when he tries to fly and airbend, and he's in the spirit world, but he could not bend.
Mm-hmm. Right, technically.
Those are my two favorite moments of the episode.
Let's see. My favorite bending moment, I think it would have been Iroh when he just heats up his jacuzzi. Because that would be like that's so awesome. Like that would be so cool. You just can heat.
I mean, wouldn't we all want to just be able to heat up our own jacuzzi, our own tea,
bath, like
our own bath? You'd save so much money on gas.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Let's see. Favorite non-bending moment. Iroh again. I think he used so many moments where he just used his smarts, like he dropped his sandal to help guide Zuko to find him, but then he also used like the chains to just like whip around and
I was just thinking about that, the chain moment. That was awesome.
Yeah, tie their like legs, pull them apart. He like grabbed the rock with the chains and threw that. Yeah. It was like
that again shows how strong this old man is.
So capable without bending.
I want to have that old man strength one day.
Right. Right. Oh, I know. We all do. So that leads to our final segment of the episode. A cup of tea with Iroh. Let's see. I'll leave it up to you, Hector. What's
my favorite little Iroh moment or Iroh phrase was when he was in the jacuzzi relaxing and Zuko's just trying to rush in. He's just relax. Just relax. Just take a little dip in the jacuzzi. That's my favorite. That's like I would think that's like. I think that just sums up Iroh in general, like his mentality, just like relax, just to look at things, just to smell the roses.
Mm-hmm. Not everything can be handled at this moment, so let's take things as they come. We'll get to it. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that vibe, bro. I already mentioned my favorite part of Iroh in this episode, where he's just like they're about to fight the Earthbenders. Basically, Earthbenders tell him, "There's 5 of us and 2 of you. You're outnumbered." And then he's just like, "We may be outnumbered, but you're certainly outmatched." And they obviously beat them up. So like they beat 2 against 5. So it's like never count an old man and his protege, pretty much. But yeah, it's a great episode. It's such a good. It's the first part 1 of a part 2, and Avatar definitely has the Last Airbender. They definitely have a bunch of these kinds of episodes.
Yeah, and they're all. I think they're all. Just the detail that's spent in these episodes, like you can just tell, like the time that was spent and creating just the landscaping, the buildings, the architecture, all that. I mean, and the story. I've watched this so many times, and I'll continue to rewatch them. And every time I rewatch it, I forget how much I like the episodes.
Yeah, exactly. No, the same here. That's so true. So, well, thank you everybody for joining us on this rewatch. Come back for part 2. Well, episode 8, part 2 of this part 1.
Yep.
I think that made sense.
The Winter Solstice, part 2.
Yes. But yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment down there on the little things. Let us know what parts you liked about this episode. And
yes, share your favorite Iroh moments.
Exactly.
I think the more and more I go through the episodes, I think the bigger Iroh fan I become. I mean, I always liked Iroh. He was one of my favorites, but it's just I love him.
Yeah, you can't help but love him. Alrighty, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks everybody for joining. Bye, everybody.
Bye.